Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another video. I as you can see, I'm out again walking. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening. The weather has tamed so much. Temperatures are down. It's very comfortable outside. What is this? November, right? Yeah, November. This is around the time where it gets really cool. But the colder months, I would say January, February. That's when it gets the coldest. At night, you need blankets. When you go out, you need a jacket, or some people wear coats. When we first got here, we saw people with earmuffs and coats, puffy coats. I was like, what? Of course, we were here from the summer and then transitioned into the winter. But I was like, what am I looking at? I am hot. Why on earth are they wearing earmuffs and gloves and puffy coats? I'm confused. But once I realized that after being here through another summer, transitioning from the cooler weather into the heat again, and then another winter, I actually got cold. But the first year, if you come in the summer and then experience winter, you're just relieved to be, you know, relieved to not be in the heat anymore. But once you complete a year and then hit the winter again, then you'll get cold and you can get sick too. The cold actually goes into your bones, and the flu creeps up on you. You have a lot of cold in your chest. You can get sick. You can get pneumonia actually if you play around with the weather. So I respect it now. Of course, coming here the first time, I was like, what? Are you serious? In Saudi, we felt it. We were in the desert in Riyadh. So we felt it in the winter. It was really cold. From the first year, it was freezing in the winter months at night. You had to have heaters. So I've seen some people use heaters here as well, but it's not like Saudi. Uh, yeah, and I think in Kuwait it gets really cold as well. They wear coat. It gets cold in Kuwait, but here not so much. So, not here in what do you call it? Where am I at? What am I talking about? Ajman. I have so many things in my mind. Please excuse me. So yeah, Ajman, Dubai, like up here in the north, it doesn't get that cold. I think Fujairah and Ras Al Khaimah gets really cold. Those are the mountains, and they actually had some snow a few years back. It made the news. That's how rare snow is, but it does get cold. It gets cold. So anyway, going into our topic of the evening, which is how do you prepare your children, especially if they're older, for Hijrah? How do you prepare them? That is a lot of people ask that question because they're coming over with teenagers or even adult children whom the parents are their sole providers at the time, and they don't have anyone to leave them with. Of course, you don't want to leave your children if you're trying to make Hijrah anyway. You would like them to accompany you. And then you have children who don't want to come. They have they have their whole setup. They got their friends, they got family. They have choices basically. I've seen that happen as well. The children making the decision to not leave. Like, I'm not going over there. Because of course, if you don't prep them or create a desire in them over a period of time while you were planning or thinking about coming, then that's what's going to happen. So, how to prepare them is basically not shock them overnight. or all of a sudden, like mention it here and there. Oh yeah, we going overseas one day, right? Yeah, well, I'm getting out of here, making dropping hints, but not actually communicating and telling them why we need to leave and what's available for them once they get over the water. And if the husband is the primary one making the move, and the wife is not on board, then most likely the children are not going to be on board unless they're attached to their father and they have a relationship with their father and they're like, okay, well, yeah, I want to go. I want to get out of here. It's variations of situations and conditions and people. It's not black and white. So you have to you have to include your children. Talk to them. Show them whatever information you can find on whatever country you're going to. There's plenty of YouTubers out here that are showcasing the countries that you want to go live in. Even if they are not like a Hijrah channel or anything like that, but just any positive inside view of the country, productivity, what's available there if they're at working age. Um, what are their challenges? What's the solutions to those challenges? And if you don't know, then seek out some groups so that the older children can ask questions. They can join them and join the groups and ask questions that that may concern them, because nobody is just going to get up and leave their country and not know what's out there just because their parents say, "Come on, we out. We got to go." There are too many examples like that. Someone shared with me a situation with a family that, they're in the UK, and that particular family has a native Islamic country. His children were born and raised in the UK. The wife, of course, was not. The father's not. So now that all of the homosexuality stuff agenda is hitting the fan, some Muslims are trying to run for their lives. And they're like, come on, we have to go. We got to get out of here. But they didn't take into consideration that the children don't even know anything about your home country. And if it's not modern, you've gotten them used to modernity. They're not going to go to your country if it's not modern. But then a replacement, for modern life, they're just not going to do it. They're not going to do it. So you have people who are depressed, frustrated, because their children don't see they may see the danger, but they're like, I'm not going where you are from. That's your home country. That's not mine. I'm not going there. So I would say give them a modern equivalent of a Muslim country where they can at least function, because you didn't even give them a solution. Like, okay, so once we get there, what are we doing? What am I doing? Like I said, they have jobs, they have friends, they have family. What is the replacement for that? And you got to remember, if you're understanding it and making the move from a religious perspective, they're not. So unfortunately, you do have to lure them and entice them with worldly gain. What can they benefit from, tangibly? And then tell them like, oh yeah, religion is there. That's if you cultivated them on that. If not, you will have a tough time. Unless they're just that loyal, like, okay, mom, dad, wherever you go, I'm going, because they care about family. But if you don't have that situation, then yeah, you have to prepare them by showing them what they can do, especially if they're older. Younger kids don't have a choice. They really don't. They'll get over it when you take them. But you still should prep them as well. You should make them excited to want to go live with the Muslims. It truly depends on your tarbiyah, on your cultivation. How did you raise them? Did you put the Muslim lands in a positive light? If you didn't, now's the time to do it. And if you put the Muslim lands in a negative light and you're only proposing to them that we need to flee because of homosexuality, they're just going to propose to you, well, we could just move on to out to the townships, or, in the UK or in the US, or homeschool. Like one sister said, well, what if I have children and I just want to homeschool? You know, we have that option, as a rebuttal to, well, I don't have to necessarily leave because of that, you know. I can just homeschool the kids and we can go move to another place where they're not enforcing this stuff. So that comes down to an issue of principle now, of your religious principles, or your religious beliefs. Because if you're just talking about an issue of evading and avoiding and moving from city to city to avoid some type of problems, I mean, people do that all the time. If it gets hot in the city, people move to the outskirts. Oh, it's too much drama going on over there. Like me, I don't like living in certain parts of Dubai. Of course, now I know that the Emirati areas exist. I don't even have that argument anymore. I didn't know about those areas in Dubai until I started to explore it. They're very traditional areas in Dubai. So I changed my position as relates to, not ever moving there. But if I move there, then it would have to be in those traditional areas if I ever consider moving to Dubai. But other than that, people, I chose as men to avoid the fitna that goes on in Dubai at that time when I didn't know much about it. As I said, when you learn more, it's like, oh, okay, all right, well, these are the areas I know where to move to if I ever went that route. But people all over the world, when it gets hot in the city, or there's fitna that takes place in one particular part of their country, they move to another. That's what it is. But when it comes down to religion, the principles of making hijrah to the lands of the Muslims and leaving the kuffar because of all of the harms that it causes living with them, for those that you see and those that you don't see, that you might discover later once your kids are affected, or you don't realize how affected you are actually. Then you'll see, oh yeah, we need to get out of here. Oh man, I wish I would have did this earlier or whatever. To the end of that. Well, some people just rather, stick it out. So it comes down to religious principle. If you're just going to compare it, if it's just going to be compared to, oh well, this is going on over here, I can just move and change places. If that's how you're going to look at it, then religion has no place. It's just an issue of problems over here. Okay, the solution is go to this part of the country. I know where it's a nice place at, because you love the place. That's where you want to be at. So religion has no place in the issue. And if you want to compare country, like if you're comparing tangibility only in money or structure or whatever system, you want to choose the West over the Muslim lands, because these are developing nations. They're not the West. The Westerners are not running it. So why would it be exactly like the West? It's not. So you got to take the conveniences with the inconveniences and work with what you got, if it's a principle of religion. If it's not a principle of religion, then you're going to choose the West every time. Period. You're going to complain. You're going to constantly compare the Muslims to the West all the time. You're going to talk about how they're falling short and how your country is in the West, it's like this, and we do it like that. And these people have nothing. These people, look at keyword, these people, as if you're not from them, meaning you're not Muslim like them. They're different. You understand what I'm saying? You're not going to make excuses for the Muslims. Muslims get zero excuses. The West gets all the excuses, even though you're running. For those who are running from homosexuality, you're running from from that particular problem. Because I think if that wasn't there, many people wouldn't even care. They would stick around, and it's things that are much more dangerous in those countries relates to beliefs that y'all are affected by that you don't even realize that actually gave birth to the homosexuality in the first place. That many people from the Muslims ascribe to, accept, believe, and hold in high esteem. But that ugly fruit came out from those roots that you ascribe to, and then you don't want the ugly fruit. But they're one and the same. Homosexuality is just the some of the ugly parts of it. But anyway, you know how I do. I get on my little rants or whatever. Yeah, it's an issue of principle. I love the Muslims. That's why I'm here. I prefer the Muslim lands, and I'm gonna be patient with whatever they need to improve upon. Give my input where I'm able. Give ideas and help develop it. Not sit back, complain and compare as if you're the one who built the West in the first place. You didn't contribute to nothing the West got going on. Zero. You just there benefiting from it. And you didn't contribute to nothing they have going on over here. So you just a spectator sitting back talking trash. I'm sorry, y'all. If it don't apply, let it fly. But yeah, this is that stuff you gotta hear, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. It's disgusting actually, and it's hard to hear. It's very sickening to hear that stuff coming from people. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. What do you want? I don't even think they know. For those who are like that, I don't think that they know what they want. Very confused. Very confused. So, yep, you have to prepare your kids, get them to love the Muslim lands. For those of you who your children are still young, start now. Start now. If they're older and they don't want to come, and you missed the boat, you fumbled the ball, and you didn't put them on that page, and make dua for them, you make the move, make the best of your life here, show them what you're doing, show them what's here, and then inshallah they'll follow you. But there's nothing you can do. You can't force them if they don't want to come and you didn't do the work. You know, it's just a sudden move that you decided we need to flee, we need to go. Everybody's going, and they looking at you like, how? What are you even talking about? How is that going to happen? That's the wrong method. Me myself, I groomed my children, but their whole life they've been between Muslim countries. And I've never made ourselves comfortable in the West. The longest that I stayed in the West was 4 years. No, I'm sorry, my last trip there was 6 years. That's how I knew, by Allah's permission, that was it. Because I've never been in the West that long, in between trips, never. Never. So, before that, it was just 3.5, and then the longest, I think, it wasn't 4 years, it was 3.5. 3.5 years in between each trip going overseas. And I groomed my children. I always talked about overseas, always showed them. Anything I was doing, I showed them. I always, put Arabic in high esteem. Always practiced it with the children or put it in front of their faces and gave them anticipation, built anticipation in them to want to go be with the Muslims. So they have a love for it. And that's highly, highly effective, and it's on the parents to build that. Because how else are they going to get it? They're children, they don't know anything. They only know what you teach them, what you put in front of them, what you expose them to. So it's huge on your shoulders, actually. It's upon you to cultivate that in them. Islamic principles, wala wal bara, allegiance and disallegiance, allegiance to the Muslims and disallegiance to the non-Muslims. That's missing. That's missing in a lot of people. It really is. Or people making abundant of excuses, bringing fatwa. Oh yeah, no. As long as you can practice the religion in the West, and then nobody's stopping you with this, that, and the third. Yeah, nah. We know the ruling. We know the ruling. But unfortunately, a Westerner who loves where they live and don't want to leave is not going to tell any of the other men a real deal of what you actually experience. You're not. That's surface. Okay, yeah, you can pray. Okay, you can say Allah's name. You can call people to Islam freely. But what about the flip side? That's another video. The psychological effects of being basically the underdog in a Western society. That's another video I'm going to do. So like the psychological effects from that I see in everybody. I even saw it in myself and discovered it once I saw it in myself and discovered it once I came here, that I was affected in that way. But alhamdulillah, Allah strengthened me and cured me of that. And I'm going to share it with y'all and highlight it, inshallah. All of the harms and the psychological effects of being under people who don't share the same religion as you, and their laws and their beliefs are widespread and pushed in the country, even though they're secular. They're not religious, they're secular beliefs and how they affect you. All right, inshallah, I hope this helps someone. Feel free to leave, your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget the Hijrah mandate sacrifice. And I will see you all in the next video. Inshallah, ma'as salama.